lot of speculation over the last 24 hours that Arsene Wenger could be the new Bayern Munich coach. He won't be. News reports suggesting that Bayern Munich didn't want him in the end. Don Hutchison with us as well. Don, are you surprised by this move from Bayern?
Not really. Good evening, guys. Not really. The only thing that would have surprised me is if Arsene Wenger had got a 2 or 3 year deal. That's what I'm hearing. I spoke to Jan Fjortoft before, and the rumours were he was asking for that sort of deal. I think Bayern were more interested in taking him on till the end of the season and maybe having another go at Ten Hag or maybe Allegri. So I'm not really surprised by that news.
Is this the right decision?
Yeah, I think if Arsene Wenger wants to coach again, then it has to be a permanent position. And I think it would have been a little demeaning for him to take an interim. Unless, of course, he had no intentions of coaching properly again,
right,
and it was just a bit of fun.
He's very old.
Well,
that's insulting.
No, but he's a 70-year-old.
Well, there's two 70-year-olds managing in the Premier League, so obviously being that age isn't a hindrance. It's just down to whether he wants to actually coach again. If he doesn't, then I would have suggested that it would have been a good spell for him.
Yeah.
But I think that sends a message that he does want to coach again.
I would have thought that this would have been ideal for both parties. I really did. I thought, they can have a look at Wenger, see how he gels in with the group, with the squad, and how he manages the players and how he manages the side. The question is now, who are they going to get? I mean, I think they might be stuck.
Look, I'll be honest, I'm surprised. Well, if it's Arsene Wenger who's turning down a short-term agreement because he thinks he deserves something longer, and maybe you can make the argument, given his record, he does. But as you rightly point out, he's 70, he's been out of football for a long time. I don't think another club at the stature of Bayern Munich is going to come knocking, certainly not anytime soon. At the same time, though, from a Bayern Munich perspective, if they don't feel that Wenger is not the right fit, understandably, you say thanks but no thanks as his representatives are inquiring. But for me, unless you go out and get Allegri, unless you're confident you get an Allegri, unless you're confident in Flick, who's in the position now, I think this ticks all the boxes. And, in offering him that short-term contract. But I don't know where it all fell apart, but it seems like an opportunity lost for both.
Pellegrini and Hodgson?
Correct.
I was thinking about that. Flick, obviously...
Well, you weren't expecting that, were you? You were trying to be clever.
I wasn't trying
Given
to...
he's too old, then when I hit you with the two 70-year-olds, you were like, I forgot.
No, and then I was trying to think of it.
OK, you move on now.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for the permission. Yeah. Flick, obviously, in charge then. Is this going to be till the end of the season? This is the right thing for Bayern Munich to have such an inexperienced coach? Don?
I think it's one of them where it reminds me of sort of Jupankis coming in. I mean, totally different characters. Yes, Jupankis had many titles and Champions League behind him, but I think it's important for that squad to have a familiar face, and it might be a case of Flick, producing a better standard of football, a more dynamic standard of football. That's what Nicol Kovac promised when he comes through the door. When he went for his interview, he promised the Bayern fans that he was going to get back to playing wide players and loads of width. And as you saw against Eintracht Frankfurt at the weekend, they had no width whatsoever. Kingsley Coman was sitting on the bench. So I think that'll be what Hansi Flick will do. And it might be the best thing for the group, just to sort of get them playing well. And Bayern, they always find a way of going to a title, or in these big games, if they've got Borussia Dortmund at the weekend, they normally find a way of winning these sort of games.
As you mentioned, Don, a big game for them this weekend, taking on Borussia Dortmund, who are currently 1 point ahead of the defending champions. Bayern Munich at home for this tie. And obviously, Don, they'll go into it as favourites, yeah?
I think so. I mean, listen, they've suffered a bit of a crisis after that smashing last week against Eintracht. But, Borussia Dortmund are a very, very good side. I think they're unbeaten in 7. A lot of draws along the way. I think 4 draws. So... They're a Dortmund side where you look over the last 3 or 4 years since Thomas Tuchel's left, and they're never really a side you can rely on. When they need a win, Dortmund are always the type of side that let you down. They collapse in big games. This is a sort of game where it's going to test them. If they can get 3 points against Bayern, I think it'll put a bit of a marker down for every other team in the Bundesliga. I think Borussia Dortmund might be favourites, but this is a tough ask.
Don, if you take a look at the Bayern starting 11 in their clash against Olympiacos, this is a team with a lot of talent. Obviously, Kovac takes the brunt of the blame for their poor start, but how can a team that's so loaded be struggling so badly?
Well, in my opinion, I think they play a little bit narrow. They have got fantastic players, and when you've got Lewandowski and Coutinho's gone a little bit off the ball, when he first went through the door, Philippe Coutinho, I saw a player that was completely relaxed. He was enjoying his football. All the tricks and flicks were coming off, and then for whatever reason, he's just gone completely off the ball. He doesn't look confident anymore. But the Bayern sides with Frank Ribery and Ian Robben have always been a team where you get the ball wide, you get crosses in the box, they play fast, dynamic football. I think they lost that under Niko Kovac. And I think if Bayern get back to playing that way with Gnabry playing off the left-hand side and Kingsley Coman off right side or vice versa, and then you get Lewandowski and they've still got Thiago and Kimmich, and the names just roll off the tongue. They're still an excellent side, but they need a little bit of work to do on the confidence levels after that smashing last week.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPNFC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.